Hello, hello. I'm here to show you Jade, our latest Warframe, and what she is all about. There she is, look at her. So what she's about, she's a support frame, she has protection for allies, she has debuffs against enemies, and then she packs a punch with her fourth. So let's start with her passive. Her passive has two parts. The first part, I'm probably going to show an image somewhere around here, is that she has two mod slots that are dedicated to auras. So basically you can put any two auras that you want, you can just throw them in there. Both of them increase the capacity, so obviously she's kind of easier to build because of that. They affect all allies and enemies just like any aura would. The other part of her passive is that her 1 and her 4th apply a debuff to enemies they hit. Her first ability creates this zone over here, and as you can see, that's where that is. And while I'm inside the zone, you can see in the upper right I have that little indicator there. That means that I'm taking healing over time as long as I'm inside. And when I leave, you can see it now goes from infinite duration to a set duration, similar to how it works with Wisp and her modes. Essentially, while you're in the area, they last forever. Once you get out, it changes. You can have up to 3 of these zones. And for enemies, when you throw it to them, basically it'll deal damage over time, and it will mark them with your passive, which is what I was talking about earlier, which basically increases how much damage they take from all sources. For her second ability, she has 3 different auras that you can select from. So if I activate it here, you can see I get squad shield effectiveness, and you can see my overshields are growing until they reach the cap. Now if I can switch my aura without having to recast, so it costs me no energy. So I just switch to this one, which this increases my ability strength. And as you can see, I actually kept the overshield, so you can actually kind of do some strategery things there. Also, you can do the same with this power strength one, because you can, for example, right now you could cast her 3 or her 4th or her 1, which will snapshot the power strength that she has right now, and then after that you could switch to the other aura, which is weapon damage increase for the squad. So you are kind of incentivized to swap around the auras as you need them. Again, it costs you no energy to swap the aura, it's just the initial cast that costs you. For her third ability, any enemy that's on her site gets slowed down and gets their armor removed. So you can see these guys now are moving quite slowly and their armor is now gone, and they're basically at the mercy of my gaze. For the ally part of this ability, we have this. You can see Mark is over there. He died. He's one of the designers working on Jade. And I can just use my third ability and I can revive him at a distance just by looking at him. It's my very, very powerful sight. And finally, she takes flight. As you can see, she moves kind of similar to Hildren, but way faster. She can move around quite a bit. This is actually an exalted weapon, so you can just shoot enemies with it. As you can see, does quite a bit of damage, or you can mark them with your 1, and then you can use your outfire to detonate them for ludicrous amounts of damage. So yeah, as you can see, with her 4, she does pack quite a bit of punch. So that's it for Jade. To recap, her passive has 2 parts. 1 is she has 2 aura mod slots. 2 is her 1 and her 4th apply a debuff to enemies, makes them take extra damage. Then her first ability is a large zone that she can create that deals damage over time and applies that passive to either enemies or allies. Her second ability has 3 different auras that you can cycle through. 1 is power strength, the other is weapon damage, the other is boosted shields. The third ability is anything you look at gets slowed down, armor stripped, shield stripped, and if there's a falling ally, you can revive them just by looking at them. And finally, her 4th, you take flight, you do a ton of damage with your exalted weapon, and with your outfire, you can detonate any enemies that are already marked by your passive. And that's it. I hope you're excited to try her out. I'm excited to get her in your hands very soon. Back to the couch with the dev stream peeps. Adios.